You very much away for having me. My name is Daniel Robert Bbaale, aka Chisoboka. Chisoboka is loosely translated, it is possible. My entire life proves one thing: with God, all things are possible. It doesn't really matter where you are, where you have been. It doesn't matter at what stage you are spiritually or even physically or financially. Here's the deal. Whatever it is that God has in store for you, it is possible. It is possible. Chisoboka. I was born in Masaka many years ago. By the time I was 13 years old, my father, my sister, brother, and mother had died. Going on to 14 years, because when my mother died, I dropped out of school, and then going on to 14 years, I became a street kid on these streets of Kampala. I gave up hope. In fact, I remember I wanted to commit suicide. I wanted to kill myself so I can be buried with my mother. I didn't see any light ahead of the tunnel. I thought it was all over for me after the death of my mother, because my father had died when I was really young. My mother is the only one I knew, and now she had been taken away from me. I can't tell you how I felt about God at that time, but what I can tell you is I really hated God. I hated life, and I hated everything that life had given unto me. Ended up on the street. See, how I ended up on the street, our family members were asked at the funeral, who's going to take care of Bbaale? And none of them came forward to take me in. I was in P7 at the time. I had not done my PLE, primary leavers examinations. And since nobody came forward, I was left suffering rejection, and I was really bitter. I felt so bitter, and I hated God. I took to the streets of Kampala, got addicted, started using drugs, and sniffed glue. I was wasted, was dirty, stinking, robbed people on the streets as a teenager. I was in and out of prison as a teenager. I taught myself how to speak English, to say the language. I also taught myself how to speak Swahili. A long story short, from a street kid who had suffered rejection, addicted on drugs, marijuana, later on got on cocaine, and glue, and cheap alcohol, cheap booze. How then does God fish me from there to be the man I am today talking to you? Because you see, for me, even though I had given up on God, even though I had hated God, my life proves one thing: God never, not even once, God never gave up on me. Now, things were hard, but God was right there through it all. I can prove that, given where I am now, God was right there through it all. I met some people along the way and facilitated my cleanup sessions, and really became clean. In 2014, without O-level, without L-level, without PLE certificates, I believed in God, because later on I got to know God, and I got to give my life to Christ and trusted Him that He would make something out of that mess that my life had become. That God would eventually turn my mess and make it a message that would transform and encourage and motivate people. Well, in 2014, I don't know where the faith came from, but I just believed that I can join Makerere University, that I could join Makerere University right then, without any prior academic qualifications. And I did research, found that there was mature age entry. I did the mature age entry, and by the grace of God, I passed. In the aptitude test, I got 80, and the program's best, I got 82, and I joined Makerere. It's amazing how without PLE, without O-level, without L-level, still God made it possible for me to sit in that class. And He also made it possible for me to get the money, tuition. He also made it possible for me to make friends along the way that supported me. See, He was always holding me. Well, 2014, passed the exams, mature age entry exams, and 2015 joined Makerere University, sat in class. Most of the things they talk about, I heard for the first time because, remember, was a P7 dropout. But guess what? 3 years down the road, this year, January on the 18th of 2019, I graduated with a 4.5 CGPA, first class with honors in Bachelor of Arts, Ethics and Human Rights. Now, if that's not God, tell me who's that? Because you see, wisdom cometh from God, but it's the fear of the Lord that begins, or where the wisdom begins. I thank God. I'll be a liar if I said I did it on my own, because it's been God from day one. A lot happened. As a teenager, I was in and out of prison. There's stuff that happened to me in prison that I have not found courage to tell to anybody. I found myself in Nairobi at 16 and I was in a prison there. I mean, a lot happened to me. And all this stuff I've shared in a small book called Chisoboka, It's Possible. And if you're able, you can get yourself a copy of the book and read it and see what God can do in detail. You can read my story in detail and see what God can do. Look, if God can take this former street kid for 9 years, P7 dropout, no PLE, no O-level, no L-level, and you join Makerere and be able to graduate with a first-class degree. If God can do that, if God can save me, if God can keep me healthy, I am a very healthy person. Check my blood. I'm very healthy, regardless of what happened in my past. If God can do that, imagine what He can do for you. So what God has done for me, He can do for you. If you want to know more about what happened in my life story, like I said, there's a book. It's called Chisoboka. It's Possible. Get yourself a copy and read and see what God can do. I've worked with KFM as a radio presenter, on-air presenter. I was a love doctor there, and I did that. They gave me a job without any academic qualifications. But by virtue of the fact, they claimed that I was so gifted that they could give me the job. Later on, I worked with Radio 1, and then later on, in 2005, when I joined Makerere, I worked with Bob FM 92.7 as the motivational guru, reality nights. Well, now I stopped that business because I wanted to concentrate and prove that it doesn't matter where you come from, you can be the best in whatever it is that you choose to do as long as you hold on to God. Stick to God. Stick to God. Because you and God, you can go a long way. So don't give up. Stay strong and be encouraged. And as you worship God, do remember that God can never give up on you.